The Presley family is in meltdown mode, and it hit the fan on September 5, 2025. Priscilla Presley and her granddaughter Riley Keough dropped a joint statement to calm a firestorm after a new $50 million lawsuit exploded online. The suit made a claim so shocking it felt unreal that Priscilla contributed to Lisa Marie's death. Then it threw in a second punch about Elvis. This wasn't a messy tweet or a rumor in a tabloid. It was a filing with dates, numbers, and accusations designed to land like a hammer. The plaintiffs say Priscilla put crushing financial pressure on Elvis in 1977 and later maneuvered around Lisa Marie. The family called the claims deeply hurtful and untrue, but the filing pulled old wires and lit them. Here's the first big receipt the plaintiffs pointed to. On April 29, 1977, 4 months before Elvis died, they say Priscilla placed a lien against Graceland for nearly $500,000. They argue that move added serious stress while Elvis was spiraling. To them, this was not a footnote. It was a fuse that burned toward August 16, 1977. The consequences hit instantly. Hours after the amended complaint surfaced on September 5th, Priscilla and Riley went into crisis mode. Their statement said their shared priority is honoring Lisa Marie's memory and protecting Elvis's legacy with dignity. It also said they would not allow outside voices to divide them. Unity was the headline. Then the counterpunch landed from Priscilla's camp. Her lawyer Marty Singer blasted the claims as absurd and despicable. He mocked the filing with a string of conspiracy jokes about JFK, Area 51, the moon landing, and Bigfoot. The message was clear. In their view, this was a smear by ex-partners spinning fiction and hoping it sticks. But the plaintiffs didn't stop at 1977. They painted a pattern. They described Priscilla as calculating and manipulative, focused on money and control. They claimed she used family, legacy, and brand to keep leverage. It wasn't just business, it was character. And they used that portrait to frame everything that followed. Remember, this war didn't start last week. In 2024, Priscilla sued these same former partners, accusing them of elder abuse and stealing more than $1 million. She said they isolated her from trusted advisors and tricked her into signing away control. They fired back that they actually rescued her from insolvency in 2022 and then got betrayed. Two narratives, one courtroom. Fans split fast. Some said Priscilla is a grieving mother and grandmother who's been targeted for cash. Others called her a gold digger living off Elvis's name for decades. The online fight went loud, but the filings are what matter. Judges don't rule on hashtags. They read timelines, signatures, and sworn statements. The legal stakes are serious. The plaintiffs won over $50 million in damages. They also won an injunction blocking Priscilla from profiting off her name and likeness outside their deals. If they win even a slice, the brand around Priscilla could get carved up, and the messaging around Elvis's legacy could change with it. Now to the twist that changed everything mid-story. Inside the filing sits a private letter from Riley Keough to her grandmother, written in January 2023 in the days of raw grief. That letter doesn't read like PR. It reads like a granddaughter begging for peace, while the ground under her family fell apart. It's the piece that recontextualizes the entire feud. Riley writes that she spent years trying to mend the broken relationship between her mother and Priscilla. She says it hurt that, after all that effort, she was the one being taken to court. One line cuts through the noise. She explains that a few weeks before Lisa Marie died, Lisa wanted to sue Priscilla again. Riley says she stepped in to stop it. The letter shows Riley in the role of protector. She says she often advocated for Priscilla when Lisa Marie wanted to push back legally. She says that, in those final weeks, she advised her mother not to sue, and it caused a fight between mother and daughter. It's a human moment that flips the narrative. The outsiders didn't spark this. The fire was already burning in the family. Riley also reveals the pain of what happened immediately after Lisa Marie's death. She writes that less than 24 hours after her mother passed, she was getting calls about the will and emails from lawyers. That detail matters. It suggests a scramble for control at a time when the family should have been focused on burial plans and mourning. It puts a different shadow on We Are United. The filing goes even darker with an allegation about Lisa Marie's final hours. The plaintiffs claim Priscilla removed life support against Lisa Marie's wishes to regain leverage over the estate. Priscilla's team calls that disgusting and denies it completely. This is where the story steps out of money and into morality, and where every word must be treated as alleged until proven. There is also a line the plaintiffs say Priscilla used after Lisa Marie's death. They claim she declared, "I'm the queen, I'm in charge of Graceland," within a week of the funeral. Again, that's alleged. But in a public battle like this, alleged quotes echo louder than official statements. They shape how people feel, and once that feeling sticks, it's hard to scrape it off. So why the joint statement now? Because both sides know momentum matters. The amended complaint landed on September 5th. The internet lit up. Headlines flew. The family needed a united front. Riley stood beside her grandmother to tell the public they won't be divided by outside voices. But the letter shows Riley was playing peacemaker long before the cameras showed up. Let's talk about that 1977 lien again, because the plaintiffs made it the spine of their argument. They want the court to connect a financial move to a human collapse 4 months later. It's a heavy claim. It turns an old business record into a moral judgment. Even if it never proves out in court, it forces Priscilla to fight battles in 2 eras at once. And the money today isn't abstract. The $50 million demand comes with a narrative about projects, brand revivals, and alleged cutouts. The plaintiffs say they rebuilt Priscilla's business and then got tossed. Priscilla says they conned her, isolated her, and tried to hijack her life and IP. Both sides insist they have receipts. Both sides insist the other is lying. What makes Riley the hero here is not perfect loyalty to one side. It's that the letter shows her trying to prevent lawsuits, protect her grandmother, and still honor her mother. She took a hard stance against more legal war just weeks before tragedy. When the will and email storms arrived within a day of the loss, she was already holding the center while the edges frayed. This is where timelines outplay tweets. April 29, 1977. August 16, 1977. January 2023. September 5, 2025. Each date ties to a move, a loss, a filing, or a statement. The plaintiffs want a pattern. Priscilla wants the pattern broken. Riley's letter is the wild card because it's not PR. It's grief captured on paper and now trapped in litigation. Public memory loves a clean story. Elvis the icon. Priscilla the keeper of the flame. Lisa Marie the heir with a complicated life. Riley the actress stepping into stewardship. But filings drag the fairy tale into floral-lit rooms with scanners and stamps. The story gets real when you can point to a page, a date, a signature, and say, this is what happened next. There's also a risk in the plaintiff's shock and awe approach. If the court narrows the case, the biggest, ugliest lines may never make it to a jury. If that happens, those claims still live online, but they lose legal oxygen. If the court sees overreach, the very allegations that built momentum could backfire. That's the danger of going nuclear. You have to survive the fallout. For Priscilla, the path forward is evidence, not one-liners. If her side can show clean contracts, trustworthy advisors, and consistent decisions across decades, it chips away at the plaintiff's frame. If she can prove the partners acted in bad faith in 2022 and 2024, the countersuit becomes a shield. But the court will want more than vibes. It will want paper. For the plaintiffs, the bet is that documents, letters, and dates will outweigh denials and celebrity gravity. The lien, the estate timing, the alleged hospital decision, the internal quotes, each is a rung on a ladder they're climbing toward damages and control. If even a few rungs hold, they can still reach a verdict that reassigns power around the Presley brand. And for Riley, the mission remains the same. Hold the legacy together without burning the family to keep it warm. She is the one person who, on paper and in public, keeps choosing de-escalation. She tells her mother not to sue. She stands with her grandmother when the world starts shouting. She tries to keep the doors closed while the lawyers keep prying them open. This is not the end of the fight. There will be motions to strike, discovery skirmishes, and more filings that read like episodes. Every new document will try to tilt public opinion as much as it aims to win in court. But the core will not change. It will still be about money, power, grief, and who gets to tell the story of America's most famous home. So remember the simple frame. The plaintiffs say Priscilla chased money at any cost and used the Presley name like a hammer. Priscilla says she's a victim of predators who moved in when she was vulnerable. Riley's letter sits in the middle like a lighthouse. It doesn't decide the case. It just shows you who kept showing up to keep the peace when everyone else reached for lawyers. One more truth before we close. You don't need to believe every allegation to see the damage. The filing alone cracked the glass on a carefully managed legacy. The joint statement tried to tape it back together. The letter showed the cracks were already there. What happens next will be written in motions and orders, but the public has already seen behind the curtain. We end where we began. A family in crisis, a lawsuit with a massive number, and a granddaughter trying to hold what's left. If the plaintiffs prove their case, they will reshape how people talk about Elvis's final months and Lisa Marie's final days. If they fail, they will still have forced the Presleys to fight in public and spend time, money, and goodwill to win back the silence. The Presley name used to be a museum tour and a soundtrack. Now it's a docket number and a headline. The people closest to that name are choosing sides or trying not to. In the middle is Riley Keough with a letter that reads like the truth you say when no one else is listening. That is why she is the hero in this story. The final lesson is brutal and simple. Legacies aren't made of myth alone. They're made of documents, deadlines, and the person who keeps choosing dignity when everyone else chooses war. Villain aim to destroy hero, but ultimately destroy themselves.